I'm so glad that you're with us today. We have a powerhouse woman that is going to bring change to your life. Have you ever thought about at the end of the month, you don't have enough money? You've been making a lot of money, but you don't, for some reason, you don't have a lot of money, and you're looking and going, how come I have more month than I have money? And maybe you make a lot of money and you're looking, just going, where does my money go? Or maybe you don't make enough money. I have someone, a guest today. She is a financial coach for very influential and wealthy clients, but her wisdom can help anyone at any level. So if you're just starting off with a new family, maybe you're just married, or maybe you're single, getting ready to plan a family, you're going to love this session today. Or maybe you've been in the game of marriage and family and love and well, that's an old show, we don't want to go there. But anyway, you've been around in love and marriage for a while, and you're going, how come, babe, we both work, we have a car, we have a house, we have dogs, we have cats, chickens, whatever you have, and you're still trying to figure out, why don't we have enough money? Why aren't we moving forward? Why aren't we growing? And I have a guest. Michelle Tascoe is going to help us all today. She's going to get into our brain. And when I talk to her, I just love talking to her because she's not only brilliant, she's witty, she's spiritual, loves spiritual people, but she's very, very professional at what she does. And she's extremely articulate. You're going to love Michelle Pasco today as she coaches us into financial freedom, financial breakthrough. She's going to be with us right after this introduction. Hi, Michelle. This is so good to have you here today. And your bio is just huge, humongous, right? It's just absolutely huge, the things that you've accomplished. So I'm going to give you a second just to kind of introduce us to yourself, introduce the community, yourself to the community. Now, I met you through a friend, Rex Crane, and I'm looking forward to meeting your husband because he sounds like a powerhouse as well. But let's get with it and tell us a little bit about yourself, Michelle, and just kind of set it up.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you first for inviting me on here. It's an honor and a privilege. And so
Yeah.
I know that you do a lot in both the kingdom and the marketplace where there's an intersection of both. And so I just want to give
Yes.
you props for that.
Thank
So
you.
I'm a financial life coach. I've been a financial life coach for 13 years now. And my resume is that I had 4 credit cards and collections. My car was repossessed. I had a mountain of student loan debt. My credit score is probably in the 400s. And I believe that God, He takes your mess and He turns it into your message. He takes your
Yes, he
mess and
does.
your message, absolutely. And so, even though, on paper, I had the college education, I went to private school in Los Angeles and I had different positions in corporate America. I was an assistant to the president of Guest Clothing, an assistant to celebrity photographer, a celebrity interior designer, a gentleman that owned 14 multifamily complexes across the nation, 5 billion in assets. But just because I had that on a piece of paper, right, as my resume out of college didn't mean that I knew what I was doing with my money. And the
Yes.
unfortunate thing is that they don't teach this in the classroom, and also not around the dinner table, because if your parents weren't taught, then they don't know how to pass that along to you, right? And so uh, I read a book, so cliche, but I really think that sometimes it's the simple things that shifts our trajectory. And it was Leadership Coaching, the Skills, Discipline, and Heart of a Christian Coach. I read that book and I just knew this is what I was meant to do. So from there, I went from coaching for free to coaching clients who you see them on TV and movies. I've had a client that has been a U.S. senator, um, someone that ran for president, which is really wild and so amazing. And everybody in between, because we all, just like how we all put pants on every day, we all have to handle finances in some way.
Yeah. And I love how you said we don't really get trained on how to handle finances. We just get thrown into it. It's like when a person's learning to swim. Some of my friends, their family just threw them in the water and you're in the deep end trying to swim. And it sounds like that was the school of hard knocks that you went through. That's the school I went through. I remember first getting my first credit card, Michelle. You'll never believe it. I was 18, 19 years old, got my first credit card. Didn't really know what credit was or credit card, and I got a J.C. Penney's card. And I remember I wanted this necklace from J.C. Penney's, this really fashionable necklace. When got it, and then they started sending me things in the mail. I didn't know what that was. I'm like, what is this? And I didn't. I just ignored them. Like, well, one day I have to pay it back. I didn't expect that actually have to pay it back every single month. End up getting in a lot of trouble, and I learned the hard way. And so I just love that you can relate with that as someone who is now helping not only in a wealth creator yourself, but someone who's helping other people who are at every level, but working at people with people you think should never have financial challenges. You're able to help them, and so thank you for that. So let's think about this person who is just getting ready to go. I looked at some of your content. You have five principles that you work with, and you may have more. I'm sure you do, but when I saw you were in a event coming soon that you're going to be talking about five principles. Give me a little bit of that because
Yeah.
I want to know a little bit of the
Yeah,
principles.
I'll give you a taste. So,
Okay.
my five principles of wealth, one is to define wealth. There's a scripture in the Bible that the blessing of the Lord makes rich and he adds no
Yes.
sorrow to it. And
Yeah.
I think it's so important that we define what rich is. And it's not always in the bank account because
Mm,
there's richness in our relationships, there's richness in our marriage, there's richness
yes.
in our home life, in our spiritual walk, right? And so when you live and are being rich from the inside out, then I believe that you value yourself. When you value yourself, there's a scripture in the Bible that says that the worker is worthy of their wages. You will do
Yes.
work and charge and get promoted because of the value that you're bringing to the marketplace. And so by just taking a moment to define what is wealth for me and for my family, it
So good.
shifts your whole mindset. A lot of times we don't know it and we can have a lot of money in the bank, but we can have a poverty mindset.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because you think that, okay, well, I just need to make more money. And that's actually not the answer. If
Yeah.
you have more money, you're really just multiplying the thinking that you have within, right?
Yeah. That's so good.
That's number one. Number two, I believe that you've got to pay money to pay attention. So we pay money
Okay.
in college, right? And it's important that we don't stop that. We don't stop hiring coaches. We don't stop hiring mentors, buying them lunch because you'll pay attention there.
Yeah.
Bringing on board, I'll say, advisors and doing courses even. I think
Yeah.
that there is something to be said about, I'll say, the standard type of education in some kind of institution, but I believe that wealth really comes from self-education. When
Yeah.
you
Very
are
much.
self-motivated, yeah, self-motivated. I just think about my husband. If he wants to figure something out, he will go right to the internet, look at YouTube, and it's in the figuring out that he builds a sense of confidence. And then you have a new mindset of everything is figure outable. Everything is
Yes.
figure outable, right?
Yes. Yes.
Number three, real quick, is more of a formula that visibility plus strategy equals financial security. So, financial
Physical.
visibility,
Like it.
this is what I mean by financial visibility. Most people, they don't really know what's happening in their bank account. They know they make money, they know they spend money, but they don't have full
Yeah.
visibility of everything coming in and out, not just month to month, but really the full scope of an entire year. Because where most people get into credit card debt is, oh my goodness, those one-time things that happen year round,
Yeah.
um, year after year. It's not like we don't know that Christmas happens in December, but most people go, it's Christmas already. I'm going to buy presents. I'm going to put on a credit card, figure out later. The new year happens. You never figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's stuff like that. A vacation, putting that on a credit card, right? And
Yeah.
the I'll say cycle that people get stuck in is that now your money is costing you money instead of your money making you money. So
Yeah.
visibility is a key because then once you have full visibility of everything coming in and out, then we can implement some strategy. Let's
Yeah. Very good.
strategize paying things ahead of time. Let's strategize being proactive, right? Instead of reactive, trying to put out fires, whack-a-mole with your money and bills and things like that. So when you have a strategy, then you can actually think more long term instead of like short term instant gratification spending, which we all do. Think about DoorDash, any kind of food delivery, anything that you know, go shopping unknowingly and you're just browsing, but you know, your cart's full by the end of that trip, right? And it's stuff that you didn't need in the first place. So when you're strategizing, then you can actually shift from the short-term instant gratification spending to finally investing in things that are long-term, like buying a house.
Yeah,
Wow,
very good.
isn't that such a good idea, right? Buy a house. And then that gives financial security because you
Mm.
know what's happening with your finances. Number four,
So good.
normalize numbers. Normalize the numbers. A lot of times I find people just have no clue what their numbers are. And I'll say that when you have competence around your numbers, you will create confidence with your finances. And that's all what
Very
we
good.
want, right? We want to be confident with how we handle our money. And it's there's some work to it because you got to look at stuff, you got to add some things up. But truly, confidence doesn't come from having a lot of money in the account, in your bank account. It comes from really knowing where your numbers are. So that's number four. And then lastly, number five is something that I've come up with in reading the Bible. It is that ownership in your finances leads to stewardship with your money, and that
Wow.
leads to leadership with creating wealth. Ownership leads to stewardship, leads to leadership. And
I I, l- I
yeah,
love that.
yeah, thank you. There's
So
something
so
I want to share just on ownership. It just
yeah,
it hits me
please.
really hard. And because we're on a rant here,
Yeah,
I
we ran.
I detest the rent mentality.
Okay.
You're renting your home, right? For a time
Yes.
being, it's fine,
Yeah.
but let's
Yeah.
not stay there till the rest of your life.
Yeah.
When you're renting
Exactly.
your car with a lease, let's
Yeah.
have a payment that you pay off and then have no more payments for a while. When you're
Yes.
renting your clothes, I get it, ladies, right? Rent the runway. It's so enticing, but come on, you don't even get to own the clothes on your own back, right?
Okay.
When you're renting your furniture, and
Okay.
I mean, there's some companies out there where, yeah, rent a center and whatnot, you're paying more for these
Yeah.
things. And uh, why I really feel passionate about this is because um, there's an authenticity about being able to say, okay, not despiting small beginnings and looking
Yeah.
like capital. Who cares, right? Who cares?
Yes.
Stop trying to look good for everybody else. I
Yes.
really respect people when they're like, yeah, this is where we're starting out. And then you see them progress over time. It's just a way of stewarding your money in such a clean and pure way. Um, and you can see, like, this is like the kind of couch I started with, and now I'm able to do this and furnish my home, right? Here's my
Yeah.
like first home, and now I'm like living in this amazing home. Here's my first little beater car, but look where like I'm driving now. It
Yeah.
it it's important that because it shifts your mindset to I'm earning this. I'm not just borrowing these things. So
Yes.
I'm gonna stop my rant.
I love that rant. I love that rant, and you can continue on if you want. I think that there are certain things that it's very powerful to see the progress in a person, right? Because the
Yeah.
delayed gratification that you're talking about, the discipline and the strength that is the fortitude and character that is developed when you're making these kinds of choices. I plan, and you create a strategy, and then I stay disciplined to that strategy no matter what's happening. And I think right now in society, we are dealing with a generation that wants everything just immediate and instant and having it. And the reason I laughed earlier, because I really didn't think about renting clothes. Of course, most people would rent a tux, maybe something, but I just didn't know. And this is the male side. Sorry, this is the male side. Maybe there's guys doing it too. I didn't know about that. I knew about rent a center and, renting furniture. And the other thing that I think that I found when I work with people that have had to come through financial challenges is they they spend more money for the money that they're using.
Yeah.
And so like the Dollar Tree, not the Dollar Tree, where you go and get you payday loans, that kind of thing. You're paying so much for a loan that you just worked for. And I remember working with a guy just saying, let's get you out of this cycle of these loans. You're loaning your future away. And so I just love that. I love that rant. If you want to go anywhere else on it, but I say one more thing, because you brought out a few things that are pretty powerful. Confidence in your money,
Yeah.
having the way you own ownership and stewardship. In you have so many better ways of saying it, but confidence. I mean, that's important to have confidence in your money. So anywhere else you want to go, I just think that wait, leadership and ownership and stewardship, that's just all beautiful. Let's keep talking. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm quiet.
No, you're so good. It's a two-way conversation. I love how
Yeah.
like engaged and involved. It's so good. Yeah. I mean, if I were just to share something else, and for those that are listening, I was I was a contributing author. That's what I was trying to say. Contributing author to this book called The Science of Getting Rich for Women. And if you'd like a copy of the chapter, you can go to michelletascoe.com/free gift rich.
Okay.
michelletascoe.com/free gift rich. But I want to drop something else here since we're on a rant. um, there's there's such an importance in trusting yourself. And what I have learned, because I had come from a background of 4 credit cards in the collection, car I possessed. I didn't trust myself with money. And I realized recently I've been in this season of coaching clients, both in financial but also in life, that when you have a low level of self-trust, what happens is that of course you're not trusting yourself, but then your level of self-integrity, which is following through on the things that you say you're going to do. Not that you don't have integrity as a person for other people, but but your self-integrity lowers. And when you're not
Yes.
following through on these things, then you're not leading and guiding your life. So your self-leadership suffers. And normally when that happens, then you're really also not taking care of yourself. So your
Oh,
self
so good.
care drops. And if we don't value ourselves because we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not leading and guiding ourselves, then our self-worth, our self-confidence it sinks. It sinks really badly. And then most people are not happy, right? So
Yeah.
your happiness suffers and your sense of accomplishment and fulfillment suffers as well. But when you start taking steps to trusting yourself, right? When you're trusting yourself, then you're going to follow through on those things that you say you're going to do in the little things and in the big things. And then when you are moving forward, following through, then you're finally like leading your life, which is awesome. So self leadership goes up, and then you're taking care of yourself. Then you're valuing yourself, and you've got the confidence with that. And then I would imagine that you'd be happy and you're accomplishing, right? And you're being fulfilled. But what if we add God to that? What is God with trust? That's your faith. God trust is your faith, right? God integrity is your character. God leadership, in my opinion, is servant leadership, right? Take the focus off of me and focus out, right? When in doubt, focus out on others in the kingdom, how you can serve. And then your self-care is really more about your walk with the Lord. How are you taking care of your personal relationship with God in intimacy and in spirit and in truth? And then when you add God to your worth, then you know that, oh my gosh, my value is in whose I am, which is the Lord's. I'm a daughter or I am a son of the Most High, right? I'm royalty. That makes you like sit up taller and like, push your shoulders back, right?
Yeah.
You valuing yourself. And then happiness really with God, it's that joy, joy, which is long lasting, which the joy of the Lord is our strength, right? So we're stronger, we're joyful. And then we get to be God accomplished, which is fulfilling our calling and God fulfilled. I mean, to me, that's the greatest measure of success, fulfilling the call of God that's on your life. So there you go.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. And it's really that's the key, right? Whatever you do, even in managing your finances, managing everything is managing your relationship with God, becoming, I like the word God, the statement God accomplished. God accomplished that you're not self-fulfilled, you're not self-accomplished, but you're God accomplished, and that you can have confidence in the idea that you literally have a calling, and every
Yes.
calling is associated to an anointing. An anointing is associated to a need. So every need, there's someone that's anointed to fix that need, and then there's someone who's called by God to be that anointed one.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even in your own testimony, that the fact is that you first had that problem before you became the called one, the God accomplished one, and now you can turn around and help and serve the world around you.
Mhm.
I just recently did a not a rant, but an influencers accelerator on the power of serving. I love
Mm.
that you talked about the serving aspect, because I think a lot of people don't realize that what we receive in our monetary monetization, the monetary wealth that we accomplish and we achieve or we receive, is based upon what we've served and how we've served and who we've served. So
Yeah.
so Michelle, you're serving, and you're
Yes.
serving people with this aspect. And your testimony told us that you walked out of this, and then you gained tools to walk out of it. Now you're helping other people walk out of it. But you sound like someone who has a real deep root in your relationship with God. And
Yeah.
I just think that's powerful that you can bridge that gap, like you said, intersect the wealth creator of that you are and the kingdom person that you are. Was that a struggle for you? Was that a challenge to come to that place of, okay, am I a wealth creator or am I God person? Because I think some people think that you have to be one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. Um, I learned in leadership, just working on becoming a leader. One, leaders ask for help. But
Yeah.
two, in leadership, it's not about an either or. You can always create a both and.
Yes.
Scripture says that all things are possible, right? So we can always create the both and. We don't have to choose one or the other. So
Yeah.
that's how I see
Wonderful.
it. Yeah.
And but was that easy to come to? Because I know a lot of people that are wrestling. I work with people in Hollywood that wrestle with the fact that they're actors or entertainers or rap artists or whatever they are, producers, and they're like, "Is God going to be happy with this?" I'm like, "God
Mm,
created that. Of course, He's happy with it, and
yeah.
God wants you to be literally obsessed with it." And so they are shocked. They're shocked with this idea. Was that a wrestle? Did you come to that just in prayer? Was it a simple transition for you?
No, it wasn't simple at all. I wrestled with it too because I mean, the world says, I'll just say that the world has certain things packaged, just
Yeah.
packaged in a certain way that's well received. But in I'll say fellowship with other believers, what came up in discussion is there are times where God sends me where I am covert. I'm like a secret agent. And then there are times when God sends me where I am covert, right? I am
Yeah.
in
And
there, um,
yeah.
covert versus overt, I mean. And so
Yeah.
I think that our own maturity and spiritual discernment will let us know when to be who to whom,
Yeah.
to the audience
Very
in
good.
front of us. And I think that sometimes to gain trust and to just walk through the doors, we've got to, I'll say, present ourselves one way. Not that
Yes.
we're not in alignment spiritually, but there's something that's necessary to be able to be invited in, but then
Yes.
never lose who you really are, because there'll be
Yes.
moments where you'll be tested, and then
Yeah.
you stand on the word and the truth. And that, I think, is really what sets us apart in those instances where we can
I
be
think
lights in dark rooms.
lights in dark rooms. I love it. And what's really like I in my intro on about you, that you're extremely professional. I mean, I just love that you are pro at what you do. And I think a lot of Christians have a tendency to try to get by with the fact that they're called and that they're anointed, and they don't actually come into the room first professional. And I
Mm,
think that ability to get into the room is because you're a professional at what you do. You're professional in the way that you present yourself. You're professional in what you have, what you do, and then what you offer. And I think that most Christians, a lot of Christians, I can't say most, but a lot of Christians will ride on the fact that I'm anointed or I'm called, and then they'll violate the very law of creating things in the earth, which is be a pro, be professional about it. And how did you have you always been a pro? Have you always been professional? Have you always been someone that's just like excellence, right? Excellence is key.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. How do I answer that? It was funny. I was speaking in Dallas at a Christian women's conference, and the feedback I kept getting was like, Michelle, you're just so poised. You're so poised. Well, here's my background. Um, I mean, I was born in Africa. I don't know if you knew that. I was born in Nigeria
No,
in
no.
Bamboo. So surprise! My
Hello,
parents,
family.
yeah, my parents immigrated from the Philippines to come to the U.S. They had always looked at the U.S. as a land of green pastures and Elvis and Disneyland, and I mean, it's just really, really sweet. But I was the girl with like the glasses and the braces, and I played in the band, which I loved, and I was just me, and I had hand-me-down clothes, and but I think that when we begin to learn about who we are in God, just something happens where you just rise to that identity. It really is
Yeah,
identity because
yeah.
in my early days, I'll just say that the Los Angeles season of my life was very, very colorful. When I was dating my now husband, he picked up a skirt and he said, "Oh my gosh, is this a doily?" And well, no, it's a skirt. So I dressed in a certain way for a certain attention because I didn't know my value and my worth. I mean,
Yeah,
let's
very
be real here,
good.
right? And so over time, I just started to get clear with who I wanted to be. And
Yeah.
um, I remember in high school, I tried out for the dance team. I played clarinet and like, I want to be one of those dance, girls. And I bombed my audition. I ran into the wall. It was really
Oh,
bad. And then when I
wow.
looked at the notes, it said, um, no rhythm,
Oh,
no, doesn't know the steps, but great smile and great attitude. And then I made it to the T because of my
wow.
attitude. Yeah, and then I learned along the way, and then the Lord used that because when at my current church, He just tapped me on the shoulder to step into the dance ministry, and I grew that ministry from like let's say like 20 dancers to 88 with recitals, and it was really beautiful.
Fun,
So
fun.
yeah,
Wow, and that's great. You can teach them not to run into walls and how
yeah,
to be poised and to and to smile and laugh and no matter what happens. I think that's outstanding. That's excellent. And no, but that is the I think that is a very, very key to separation. I think in the kingdom of God and in the marketplace is to make sure that you intentionally are going towards where your strengths are. Your strength was smile and positive attitude, going towards your strength, and then really like align the rest of you with what you're excellent at, and then become excellent at it. That's great, Michelle. I want to make sure that you mentioned the book earlier, and I know that you're going to be writing a book soon.
yes,
Yes, you're gonna be writing a book soon. I like to encourage book writers. I'm an author, and we work with people like that. But I wanted to make sure that everyone can get to that book, and I just so it's in Michelle. Can they just go to michelletascoe.com and get it, or
yeah,
do they need to have
/ free gift rich
forward
/
slash free gift rich? Okay, let's. I'll make sure we get that forward slash free gift. So make sure you get that. And then there's a couple other questions I have for you. And one of them is, let's go back to this idea of maybe it's not that you need to make more money, because I think that's what everyone's trying to do,
yeah,
but maybe you just need to you need to do other things, spend differently, and when you start talking that way, I think people get hives. They itch and they get uncomfortable, and because you say a strategy. Strategy sounds great. Woo, give me a strategy. But I
yeah,
coach people and I give them strategies, and the biggest part of the strategy is literally accountability, because they don't like to be disciplined. That's why they're in the trouble. So
yeah.
so talk to us about. how you help a person who has a discipline problem to
Yeah.
follow the strategy.
Yeah, that's so good. You know, when I coach my clients, the first session is always goal setting, and it's two parts. It's the 2.0 version of life, right? The money you want to pay off, the money you want to make, where you want to live, where you want to travel to, home goals, professional goals, all of that, life goals. But then I don't miss the other half of that, which is even more important in my opinion, which is goals about the 2.0 version of you, the next version of you, the better you, the you that you're meant to be in the world. There's a quote from Jim Rohn, and he says, "Don't make it a goal to make $1 million just because of the money, but because of who you'll become on the way to reach that goal." And he never said, make the goal something that you actually achieve. Like, he never said, earn the $1 million. He just said, make the goal $1 million with the intention of who I get to become to be someone that would actually create that, right? So there's three types of goals around the next level you. To me, it's being goals. Who do you get to be, right? Based off of that quote. Also, mindset goals and energy goals. And I'll break that down really, really quick. So there's 5 being goals that I find it's common around most of my clients who want to take their being to that next level. And it's being disciplined, because Tracy, you brought that up a couple of times. And yes, in fact, when you realize this, we all really want to be more disciplined, right? We know the benefit of discipline. So be disciplined, be consistent, right? That's another one that if you just continued on consistently, think about how far you'd get. The next one is to be organized, and then be responsible. Responsibility is really linked to ownership, because when you take responsibility for the things that have gone wrong and then shift that to, I'm taking responsibility for all the things that'll go well in my life, then you have this mindset of, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Nobody else is going to do this for me. Nobody else is going to pay those bills, pay off that card, or anything like that. So if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And you step up into taking action. That's proactive and figuring it out. And then also to be prepared. Preparation is key. There's a saying that, I'm full of sayings today, but they're all so good and true and anchored in succeeding in life. But failing to plan is planning to fail. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And how much better would you feel if you showed up prepared to whatever it is, to work, to an interview, to a date, even, right? Be prepared with your finances. So those are the main being goals. And then we can add other being goals, like being generous, right? Servant leadership is about generosity and giving, to be loving, to be present. How would it be to be present with your family, right? Instead of on your phone all the time. And intentional. What about being intentional? What difference would that make if everything that you thought about you doing in the day came from a sense of being intentional? How would that shift your life and the people around you? And then with mindset, I would say there's a handful that typically come up. It is a shifting of an old way of thinking to a new way of thinking. So, old way of thinking could be, okay, I want to shift my mindset of reactive to proactive. I want to shift my mindset from uncertainty about everything to certainty. I shift my mindset from like that instant gratification spending that we talked about to long-term success, or shift my mindset from scarcity to abundance, because it is a mindset. And then lastly, with energy goals, so mindset is thinking, but energy goals is about like this experience that we have in our body. And a lot of my clients that, are struggling with their finances, especially with debt, there is this feeling of like anxiety. There's an energy of anxiety, of stress, right? Of resistance, of weight. So if we can move the energy of anxiety to peace, what if we could move the energy of stress to calm and ease? What difference would that make? And when you link them together, the 2.0 version of yourself is the person that will be able to create the 2.0 life. People keep trying to create the 2.0 life with their 1.0 selves. And that's really like doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right? Definition of insanity. And so when you realize this formula, this key, then you think, okay, I got my 2.0 life goals done, check them off. That means that I can create now 3.0 life goals, which means that it calls you to level up. And who's at 3.0 you? You ask yourself questions like, okay, what would the 7-figure me do? I mean, that changes your whole thinking as well, because when you're asking the right questions of yourself, you'll always get the right answers. So that's my thought on that.
Wow. Okay, so this is great because now we are not just getting wisdom, education. You're not just educating us in finances, but you're really coaching that wealth creator out of us. You're really developing us and coaching us. So I want to encourage anyone who is looking for a coach, who is looking for a coach to connect with Michelle Tascoe, to connect with her. And we're going to make sure you have all of the information on how to connect with her, because as you can tell, you're going to level up, you're going to scale up, you're going to step up. I love that one. You're going to all that's necessary to become. And I love the way you do it, Michelle, because you ask the right questions. And probing questions are the key to getting different answers. And so you ask the right questions that cause people to get different answers. So that's outstanding. One more question for you, if you don't mind.
I love it. Go for it.
And I think you've already touched it. So you may just say, "Well, I just said that," and that's okay with me.
Go
But
for it.
so the question I always like to find out, what's the question you wish people would ask you more often? And the question that you answered was, "How do I create the life I want?" And that's a powerful thing, because everyone has a life that they want. And so, is there a specific answer you want to give to that, or would you just tell us, lead us, rant at us?
Oh, there's more. There's more.
Yes,
So,
that's lovely.
um,
That's wonderful.
for me, I have a system. I have a methodology. Um, I actually thrive on like spontaneity and fun, but I realize that in my spontaneity and fun and wanting freedom in the world, if I had structure, it's the structure that creates freedom. So I
Yes.
have a 10 point, it's a 10 pillars. So in the pillars, number one is God. Number two is significant other. I don't know if you have some feedback. Do you hear that?
I don't have it on my end, but let's see if I can get rid of it.
Okay,
Do you
cool.
have it on your end?
I do. It's so weird. It just popped up, but it's all good. There's like an echo. It's fun. Okay, so 10 pillars. Here we go. Number one is God. Number two is significant other, like your spouse. Number three is family. Number four is number five is finances. Number six is personal development. Number seven is health, well-being. Number eight is home and environment. Number nine is friends and community. Number 10 is fun and adventure. And here's how to have the life that you want. We all start in different places. So I say use this template to goal set. Use this template to take inventory. If you write this list down, and because this is recorded, you can come back, and um, go through the 10, but rate each of those areas on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, right? And just sense it. It doesn't have to be too complicated. And then add them up, and then just put a decimal, because you're divided by 10. Just put a decimal between those two numbers. You may realize, okay, I'm living life right now at a 4.5, or I'm living life right now at a 7. And then look at the list and see what are the two that are the lowest numbers, because those really are the two areas that you have the most opportunity to level
Yeah,
up.
very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And
Excellent.
then set goals monthly. I set goals in these. I'm actually on journal number 38 since 2005. Journal number 38, right?
That's
Because it's not written, it's not real. And if you do this monthly and write goals in every category, you're going to move your entire life forward, not just one or two. And that's my thought
That's
around that one.
wonderful. That's wonderful. And of course, if anyone's working with you directly as a client, they will get more of this from
Yeah.
you with you. Excellent. So, Michelle, before we log off, is there anything else you want to say? We extracted quite a bit, and I'm very excited about it. But is there anything else you want to just say to the
Mm,
listener that's on podcast or the viewer that's on YouTube?
yeah. A couple of things. One of my mentors, her name is Danny Johnson, and she says that excuses are well planned lies. Excuses are well planned lies. And I bring that up first because sometimes we tolerate the excuses in our lives. And honestly, it's really what's holding us back from the life that we're really meant to be living. Sometimes excuses come from this little voice in our head, and it sounds like you, but you know you never say those things. I call it the faux voice, which is two kinds of foes. Foe, the enemy of our soul, FOE, but then faux, FAUX, which is really like the fake voice that sounds like you, talks like you, has the same voice inflections, but really isn't you. And so when you start to break down the excuses and ask yourself, because excuses are well planned lies, what is the lie? What is the lie that I'm believing that's giving me this feeling? It could be I'm believing that I'm not enough. And the truth is that we are. We're all enough, right? And something else I want to leave with you is that if you don't have a plan for your money, someone else will have a plan for your money for you. It's just as simple as that. If you don't have a plan for your money, someone else will have a plan for your money for you. So if you could just take away those things, those two that I am driving home, it will make such a difference in your walk.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. I think that you should plan. I'm going to give them a plan for their money right now. I think you should plan to hire Michelle as your coach, and she will help you have plans for your money, right? So that's that's the plan. We're going to go with that plan. Michelle, this was outstanding. Thank you so much. And you're on LinkedIn. I'm going to make sure that everyone gets what you have. You're on Facebook, and your Facebook, Michelle, and your what's your middle name? As is that your middle
Buenaflor.
name?
My middle name is Buenaflor. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
Michelle there. And then we have Michelle also, Instagram, Michelle Tascoe on Instagram. Make sure you connect.
Yeah.
And then make sure that you connect on LinkedIn. Great space to connect on with Michelle. And then in Michelle.com. And we'll make sure that we have all of the details of how they can get the free book and prepare for your book that's coming out in the near future. We're excited about that. Michelle, thank you for being a guest, and we look forward to having you again if you would be open to it. I would really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Tracy, I love what you're up to. I love being part of your world. And yes, I am a yes for next time.
All right. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. As you can tell, what a wealth of information, knowledge, concepts. But I love that she says, I'm a really spontaneous kind of person who just loves to just have fun. But she has systematically created the life that she wants to live in. And it allows you to have fun when it's time to be spontaneous, be systematic, be driven, be intentional, be a leader. Starts with leading yourself. And you can learn more from Michelle about that. LinkedIn, Michelle on Instagram, Michelle on Instagram. We make sure Michelle on Facebook. Find out what she's doing, and 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 even if there's a MichelleTascoe.com, find it. And we're going to make sure you get into her world because she, as you can tell, is going to coach you into being a better person, not just a greater creator of wealth, but to be a better person, to be professional. And I appreciate that so much. We look forward to seeing you next time.